We'll call the meeting to order with Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks, James.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just didn't realize you were being so prompt.
He's watching it.
Clerk Cody, would you do roll call of the board, please?
Supervisor Milky,
Here.
Treasurer Rice,
Here.
Trustee Bills,
Here.
Trustee Brown,
Here.
Trustee Hauk,
I am present.
Trustee Thering,
Present.
Clerk Cody here. Everyone's here.
All right. For the goodwill of the meeting, everybody make sure their ringers are off. It's bitten us before, so that's why I brought it up.
I even turned off my alarm at 7:30.
For tomorrow?
No, for PM.
Oh, okay.
My medicine alarm.
All right, we have no presentations this evening. Oh, let me back up, sorry. Sorry. I told you I was tired and keep me in line if I get out of line.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Motion by Hauk to approve the agenda, support by Cody. Discussion? Seeing nobody jumping forward, all in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion to approve the agenda passes unanimously. That takes us to item 5, presentations, of which we have none, so we'll skip to 6. Public hearings, which we have none, so we'll skip the public comment. Public comment is restricted to 3 minutes regarding items on this agenda. If you do choose to speak to the board or public, please state your name and address for the record, and with that, we'll open up public comment at 7:02 p.m. Looking behind me just in case.
Lively bunch.
Seeing no one coming forward and no public in at least attendance in person, we'll close public comment at 7:02 p.m. We have no closed session this evening, so that takes us report board comments. Item A is regarding appointments. We did get a number of applications in our packet, which is nice to see. I did take the liberty of looking at which seats are coming due before our next board meeting, so that we made sure we could address those if there was an applicant. Feeling that the other applicants where seats are coming up in later January, February, March, we should leave open for additional applicants before we make decisions. So if there's no objection to that, I do have a list of the seats that are required to be filled that we have applicants for prior to our next meeting. And if you're okay with it, I'll just run through those and we'll address those and take any motions that board members wish to take. We have 2 open seats on the ZBA. Brandon LaBelle currently serves as alternate number 1. I did have a conversation with him. It was recommended by the chair. I had conversation with other members. My understanding is Mr. LaBelle shows up prepared as an alternate every meeting, which is really something because very often when you're an alternate, all you get to do is sit in the peanut gallery, and despite all the research you did and preparing for the meeting, you don't get to do anything about it. So anyways, he has applied to take that open seat and open up that alternate 1 spot. And so that's his application. And I'd be happy to...
I'll make a motion to move Brandon LaBelle from an alternate on the ZBA to the vacant seat on the ZBA.
Support.
With the term expiring, what,
12/31.
12/31/25?
12/31,
Or 25.
2022.
3-year terms.
Yep, but it's...
It's a vacant seat. He has to finish off it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So,
Okay,
22.
22, okay, I'm sorry. I got that.
All right, would you restate the motion again, just for clarity?
I'll make a motion to have Brandon LaBelle move from alternate number 1 on the zoning board of appeals to the vacant seat on the zoning board of appeals with the term expiring 12/31/22.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion, and a motion by Hauk, support by Rice. Any discussion? I will add that I've served with Brandon on the planning commission. I always felt he was well-prepared and offered a good perspective that wasn't always the same as mine, but I appreciated what he brought to the board, and I think we should be fortunate that he applied to move up a spot. If there's no objection, we'll call the vote. Okay, do you want a roll call on this
Sure.
for any reason?
Don't mind.
We'll do roll call vote on the motion to move Mr. LaBelle from the alternate slot in the ZBA to the permanent board with expiration of 12/31/2022.
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Hauk,
Yes.
Trustee Thering.
Yes.
All yeses.
All right, we have Construction Board of Review. All 3 seats are open. As my understanding is, and I'd ask our manager to jump in if I'm incorrect, we received 2 applications for those 3 seats. Is that correct in your understanding?
We received an application from Mr. Tyson
And Mr. Herron.
Oh,
and Mr. Herron.
Board of Appeals.
So at this point, we would still have that open spot.
Right.
Okay, so I want to lift that up, that we need to fill this with 3. So if you know if someone's qualified for that, feel free to approach them to serve. For our other board members, I'm not sure, because I've never served on that board,
Board of Appeals.
what the job description's like.
They don't meet very often, do they, Mark? I mean, I think they only met.
Would you be willing to describe the duties and what requirements would be useful?
Certainly, the Construction Board of Appeals hears appeals from generally enforcement action that's been taken by the building official or other enforcement type of activities. In 2021, I believe they met once, and that was not too long ago. And in 2020, they may have met once or twice. So they do have a meeting schedule, but generally, at least as of late, they have not been meeting. So it's not a very large time commitment. We try to have folks on there that are familiar with the trades in some construction type of activities. And both these applicants that are interested in being renominated have those kind of skills.
Thank you.
I have
Trustee
a
Howe?
question. Yesterday, I saw Colin out here, so I called him, and then he got his application in. Well, so that was down to 2, and then I came in and I was talking to Tara, and she said that she had sent emails out to everybody, but had only heard from Andy. I don't know, I should have tried to call Rick, but I have a question. Jeff and I were talking, Trustee Brown. Jeff and I were talking yesterday, and I don't know, Mark, is there a possibility that Jeff could serve on that board?
I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to look.
I mean, he knows all the stuff.
The main thing that I'd need to look at is the types of appeals that may come before a construction board of appeals. And is there any possibility within the statute that those appeals can come to the Board of Trustees before they go to what I'm assuming would be the court system? So you'd possibly be in a situation where, as a Board of Trustee member, you're opining on what may have happened at a CBA meeting. But I'll look into that and get an answer back to the board, if that's okay.
Yeah, and the statute does allow, like planning commission, because there is that potential. but the statute addresses that pretty specifically too, so I would think that it would in this case as well. In some manner.
And I just am not,
Yeah.
I'm not that familiar with the statute.
All right, appreciate it.
Yep.
Well, in the meantime, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Colin Heron and Andy Tyson to the Construction Board of Appeals for a 2-year term. What was that?
You gotta do it separate.
Separate.
Oh, okay. I'll make a motion to approve Colin Heron for a 2-year position on Construction Board of Appeals ending in the year 12/31/23.
Support.
Motion by Houck, support by Bills, to approve the application of Colin Harris to the Construction Board of Appeals expiring 12/31/2023. Discussion?
The only thing I have to say is, when and if this appointment goes through, we'll want to change the last name and the expiration dates so that it matches the application, the correct spelling. So, it's
Oh.
Heron in here, and their application is Herren, so,
I've been spelling it wrong all these years.
So it's EN.
yes.
Yeah, I had not noticed that. Thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Since we did roll call on the first appointment, we should probably continue that through any appointments we make. So we have a motion to, just as a reminder, appoint Colin Heron, Construction Board of Appeals, expiring 12/31/2023. Would you do a roll call, please?
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Bills.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Hout.
Yes.
Trustee Thering.
Yes.
All yeses.
If anybody's so inclined, we have one other applicant regarding Construction Board of Review. Happy to entertain motions if there are any.
I'll make a motion to approve Andy Tyson to be reappointed to the Construction Board of Appeals for a 2-year term ending 12/31/23.
Support.
Motion by Houck, support by Rice. Discussion? I will say I've served with Andy too, on the ZBA, and very much enjoyed working with him. And he always seemed to be one of those that came prepared, and I always appreciate that.
I'll have to say, working with Andy on a project, he is extremely prepared on projects. There is no doubt about that. He knows his stuff. We are very lucky to have him on this board.
Any further discussion? Would you do a roll call vote, clerk, regarding appointment of Andy Tyson to the Construction Board of Appeals, expiration 12/31/2023?
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Treasurer Rice.
Yes.
Trustee Bills.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Hout.
Yes.
Trustee Thering.
Yes.
All yeses.
All right, as I went through applicants and seats, there were 2 additional seats expiring this year, one on the dog park and then one on the Chippewa River District Library. We have 1 applicant for 1 spot on the dog park, John Dinsey, who is currently serving on that dog park committee. Again, I've worked with John. I happened to ask our manager this week regarding his opinion of that committee and John's preparedness and response. Not trying to put words in your mouth, but the response I got was that he comes prepared and does the work every time.
Attends every meeting.
Happy to entertain any motions if there is one.
I'll make a motion to appoint John Dinsey to Hannah's Bark Park Advisory Board for a 2-year term ending 12/31/23.
Support.
Motion by Rice, support by Brown. Any further discussion? Clerk Cody, would you do a roll call on the motion to appoint Mr. Dinsey to the Hannah Bark Park Advisory Board, 2-year term ending 12/23/2023?
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Treasurer Rice.
Yes.
Trustee Bills.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Hout.
Yes.
Trustee Thering.
Yes.
And
All
it's
yes.
12/31/23.
Yes.
Is that not what I said?
No.
My apologies.
I didn't even ask.
Did that mess anybody up on their vote?
No.
No.
Nope.
Okay. We have one additional board, as I mentioned, where we have an applicant for an open seat that expires this year, Chippewa River District Library. Again, in this case, Lynn Leskowski, currently serving, term ending the beginning of, or the end of this year. I do not know Lynn personally, other than previously coming before the board for this application, but, so I can't speak personally to this person, but happy to entertain any motions.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Lynn Leskowski to the Chippewa River District Library Board for a 4-year term, term ending 12/31/2025.
Support.
Motion by Thering, support by Rice. I guess I will add that both Ruth and Lynn have been in presenting before the board before, and I think both are very qualified in what they do, and these are the right kinds of people to be on this board.
Just for your information, I did touch base with the director of the library and, indicated that our representative to his board was expiring, and if he had anything to share, and he spoke very highly and encouraged the township to appoint Mr. Leskowski.
Any further discussion?
No?
Clerk Cody, we have a motion to appoint Lynn Leskowski to the Chippewa River District Library Board, 4-year term, ending 12/31/2025. Did I get the date right that time?
Yes, you're
Could you
good.
give us a roll call on that, please?
Supervisor Menke?
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Treasurer Rice?
Yes.
Trustee Bills?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Hope?
Yes.
Trustee Thering?
Yes.
All yes.
And I'll just make a general comment and thank you to the public for, and the individuals that applied, and I'm happy to see we have some applications for seats that are opening up in the near future, but we still have additional to try to recruit for, so,
So are some of those the ones that are in here?
yes.
Okay, because I was like, why aren't we addressing that? Okay.
Well, my thought was that, for example, some aren't until February, we should give the public ample opportunity to have additional applications and not close the door on those opportunities.
Yeah, so I was just confused as to why they're in the packet, that's all. You know? even
They
why-
were received.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
got you.
So,
And I believe we'd asked Mark previously for any time we received them
Oh.
to get them, if I recall.
We'll see them again though when they're up, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you will.
all right, that brings us to the item 9B on our agenda, December monthly activity report. Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to board member reports. I'm gonna mix it up tonight. Start with Treasurer Rice.
All the tax bills were at the post office, on the 30th. And been receiving calls, people have already got them, and that kind of thing. So we've had payments coming in and everything else. I did want to, apologize and say thank you, and that to you guys for not being here at the last meeting. I did watch the meeting, and I held it together until Brian, you made me bawl like a baby, so. But, so thank you guys. Thank you for those that reached out to me as well. It meant a lot. And yeah, we'll end it there.
I'm sorry for your losses, and I hope I represented you okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Trustee Thering.
I have nothing to report at this time. The planning commission will meet next week.
Yeah, really switch it up tonight. Clerk Cody.
Wow.
Trustee Bills.
Yes, sir. I attended a Isabella County Board of Commissioners meeting on December 7th. And it was Pearl Harbor Day and they recognized the vets and everything. Apparently the state is trying to privatize mental health. I don't know if anybody's aware of that, so that they won't be providing it. It'll be like outsourced to, HMOs and PPOs and things, and so that's been seems to be passing, but not with enough funding. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I thought it was interesting, they added this in, that they are in the third year process of, their process of getting distributor settlements for the opioid cases. There's 3 cases they're involved in, and they apparently, since they applied early to be in the class action, they get more than counties that applied later. So that's what I found out about that. And they have a new software that can break into your iPhone. It costs $26,000 and change, but they did say don't go to the sheriff if you can't get into your phone, because he won't do it. That, and then I did. I thought that was cool.
It is.
I mean, we got 26 grand to waste on that software. I think that's cool. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
I did reach out to the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe, Mr. Eric Rodriguez, and I left a detailed message on his machine. Have not heard back from Mr. Rodriguez. I haven't had a lot of time to sit there and call him again, but I have not heard anything back regarding the 2% snub, or whatever you want to call it. And I looked on the Facebook page. It doesn't list the projects they funded. It just lists how much everybody got on their page. Did you see? I don't know what projects, Brad.
Usually it lists.
I've seen it, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Yeah, I looked and I just saw the government amounts that they got. That's all I saw. But maybe there's more, but I didn't see it. So I don't really know what they funded. But I know that at the Council of Governments meeting, and several of us were there, they wanted stuff that was community minded and COVID minded and things like that. So I imagine that's the reason, but I don't know. So.
Yeah,
Try to find
and
out.
that's why I wouldn't probably call it a snub as much as they had certain priorities.
They did.
And I get that.
Yeah.
And what we applied for was much more utilitarian.
You bet. And that's why I think we should definitely investigate Trustee Hauk's idea of the trailhead end. I think that would garner a lot more attention, and I fully support that. I think the rest of the board does too.
So regarding your comment about the mental health stuff, that's a little disturbing because
It's really
this is a time when not just our state, but the world has been through a lot and continuing to go through a lot.
And there's
it's
limited
created-
services as it is.
Yes, and we've created stress on all the people above and beyond the normal stresses, and a lot of people are really needing that mental health support. So that's just disappointing to hear.
It's horrible to have managed care take over our actual mental health. Yeah.
Well, the biggest
Anyway.
thing, as you mentioned, is making sure it's funded too. If
Yeah.
you're gonna do that, make sure that there's money to help those that need the help.
Yeah.
Because we don't do a very good job with that in our country.
Yeah, you got that right. That's been definitely a redheaded stepsister in the healthcare. I'm just saying. That's all I
Our
have.
treasurer might take exception to that.
Hey man, I'm just saying.
I'm a
Any
redhead
other-
and a stepsister.
Any other comments? Any other comments or questions for Trustee Bills? Trustee Brown?
Nothing to report.
Trustee Howe?
I went to a road commission meeting last Thursday, December 9th. They were talking how we're supposed to get the windstorm coming up, which it did. And they were saying how they had tree trimmers go along and cut trees out. They were, drivers would drive down the road and say, hey, here's a tree that needs to be taken out. So that they had, some of their people go out and cut trees down, trying to eliminate trees in the roads and on the power lines and stuff. They've got 4 new employees that are working out well. Probably the best discussion they had was about electric cars. How do electric cars right now when we buy fuel, we pay road tax on our fuel. Well, electric vehicles, there's no monitoring them. They're using the roads, but there's no monitoring them. So they talked that, this is probably going on nationwide, whatever. Talked about maybe higher registration fees for electric vehicles, charging like some kind of plug that would be hooked up to their house or wherever, and you'd have to pay so much a kilowatt hour. It's just weird. They don't know how they're gonna do it. You take, one discussion was, we're a tourist state, Michigan. Well, you have a lot of people coming in from out of state. Well, they're coming in, they aren't buying any fuel, so how do we charge, how do we make money off of them? How do we get our roads fixed and maintain new ones? They talked like maybe there'd be cameras that would take a picture of your vehicle, get a license plate number and see whether it's electric or not. It's just a weird, it's concerning, but there's just having a lot of discussion on that. Then they were talking about road millages. There's 3 townships in Isabella County now that have road millages. So, and it's something that I know we had discussed before that, we may have to look into that. We're kind of, everybody comes to our township, so our roads are always gonna be the worst because everybody comes here. So, a lot of the other townships, so it's just something that in the future we might wanna discuss. So that's all I have.
It's interesting regarding the fueling stations for electric, because I know I've had family members that have electric cars that have come in from out of state, and they buy fuel here, electric fuel, and they do it at fueling stations, right? And it does seem reasonable that the state government might want to look at taxing some of that from a road perspective.
Well, they were talking about like that new Lightning pickup that's gonna be coming out from Ford. It's gonna be able to tow campers and stuff.
It's already sold out.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You're not taking
I
any
know.
more orders.
We got, you have a 35-foot long travel trailer and you're parked in front of one of those, Coins have a couple of them down here. I saw where Ford's coming out with a new hookup. It'll do it in 5 minutes. Recharge your electric car in 5 minutes. I mean, it takes that long to fill it up when you do it with fuel.
Well, I either attended a seminar or somehow found out about 5 to 10 years ago, but they said that they were already putting chips in the electric cars that the state could read every year to see how many miles were, some kind of mileage ticker or something, and they could get that at the registration time. But that's what I was told by someone who knew, they were giving some kind of seminar. But I'm surprised that the road commission said that there was no way to track it, because I was told that the chips were already being put in there and they were required. That's when I decided I need a classic car with no tracking, and then convert it to electric.
Well, certainly as all this changes, there will be changes in statutes, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, look how life has changed. I mean, now you can drive down the road and hold your hands off the wheel and, your car can drive itself. I mean, it's weird.
I like that.
I don't trust that.
We're old school.
I know.
We're old school.
FedEx
All right.
is driving trucks down the middle of the country with nobody in them. I mean, nobody driving them.
I don't have much to report. The EDA did have a meeting. We basically finished up some year-end stuff. We did not choose to have a meeting in December, one for lack of quorum, because the meeting was scheduled for next week, I believe. They didn't think we'd have a quorum, and there wasn't any business to necessarily take care of, so we canceled our December meeting. I did, however, miss a board of review meeting yesterday, and that was all my fault. It wasn't on my calendar, and I was in a meeting with our manager, actually, at the time. And then I got off the phone and got my voicemail from Tara saying there's a meeting, by then I'm sure it was over. So I did not make my board of review meeting, and for that I'm guilty and I apologize. But with that brings us to item 10 on our agenda.
Just so you know, the things did get handled.
I
At the
figured they
meeting.
did. My job is not in a voting capacity, it's just to be there and listen.
Yeah.
And a recording secretary essentially.
Yeah.
But consent agenda is before us. I'd be happy to entertain any motions.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Motion by Bill, support by Brown. Who had warrants?
I did, I had accounts payable, and I just have one question. When I was looking at Braun Kendrick, what's the Nelson deal? I noticed there are 4 or 5 items on the general legal, and it said Nelson. I don't know what that was.
That's regarding a property down on Lincoln, almost to Broomfield. There's the main house in the front, and then there's an accessory building in the rear. And they were doing, and right now it's non-conforming, an allowed non-conforming use. And they began to do some work on the back building first without a permit. And so we approached them about that and then discovered the work, the type of work they were doing was going to be adding to the non-conforming status. And so they requested a review, I believe, of our zoning administrator's ruling on that. The Construction Board of Appeals, I think was the body, it might have been the ZBA, supported our zoning administrator, and they're taking that to the next level, it appears. So we've been working with our attorney, and the next level being the court system.
Can you tell us who that is?
Mr. Nelson,
Okay.
But is
It-
that on the south or east side of the road?
it's on the east side of the road, and
Oh,
it's
that's how they
Past the
work.
river,
south of the river,
yeah.
and it's the second house north of Broomfield. And if you go by there, you'll see
I noticed
Some-
work going on.
Did he just buy that? Is that, or has he been the original owner for quite some time? Because wasn't that rented out? Just
I think he bought it in somewhat recently, maybe not immediately in the past, but
Okay.
he was changing the pitch of the roof. I forget exactly what he was doing, but not allowed to be doing it, and he's contesting our ruling on that.
Okay. I'm sorry. I
And
just-
now I understand, at least from.
You'll see a roll-off there, and there's some work being done on the main house,
I've seen that, yeah.
which is continuing. He's got a valid permit for that. It's the work on the back, and
Gotcha.
I believe the intent of some of the work on the back was to make it larger and rentable,
Which is non-conforming.
but it's non-conforming.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're allowed to do a certain amount of work, but it can't,
Change your footprint structurally.
yeah, you can't make the existing non-conforming even more non-conforming.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you.
All right, so we have motion to approve the consent agenda. Any other discussion on this? Motion to approve the consent agenda is approved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion to approve consent agenda passes unanimously. That brings us to item 11A on our agenda, new business, discussion regarding adoption of the fiscal year 2022 appropriations resolution. I think we're all pretty familiar with this by now. I asked our manager if you have anything that you'd like to add as far as introduction.
Just very briefly, there are several funds that are part of the appropriation resolution: the general, fire, special assessment, East DDA, West DDA, 2% grant fund, sewer fund, and water fund. So you're being asked to approve the budgets for those. I believe it's 8 funds. Also, part of the resolution is setting the 2022 fee schedule, which is in your packet and was part of the recommended budget. And the resolution was also approving the millage rates for tax year 2022, which is next year. And there's no change in those millage rates, 1%, 1 mil operating and 2 1/4 for the fire. Be happy to answer any questions regarding that.
I'll make a motion to adapt the fiscal 2022 appropriations resolution covering the following funds: general, fire, special assessment, East DDA, West DDA, 2% grant, sewer and water, approval of the 2022 schedule, or fee schedule and millage rates.
Support.
Motion by trustee Hauk, support by clerk Cody. Discussion.
It was a thorough budget, it was good. I mean, it was well presented.
Obviously, we always like to have unanimous decisions on this kind of a vote. It doesn't always happen, but that's always ideal. I actually have thought a lot about the Lincoln Road project and the 200 and, how much is it? I wrote it down. I wouldn't forget. 167,000, am I seeing that right?
For the general fund,
Yes,
$166,000.
$167,000, of which EDA also has the $330,000 approximately. That's $500,000 we've had for at least 4 years now. And I struggle with just continuing to leave $500,000 of our taxpayers' money out there when we don't even, at this point, really have a good understanding of what that is. And so I struggle with just kind of giving approval up front of that. I'm not opposed to the project, but I want to understand it better if we're going to spend that kind of money, because we're talking about a heck of a lot of our taxpayer dollars. And that was the only issue I had with the budget. And I'll second or support what trustee Hauk just said, which is related to budget it's a good budget. And I appreciate the work the staff put through it. I appreciate the work that each of us put in with it, understanding it. But in that process, that's the one caveat that I have, is that particular line item.
I think we already did discuss that, right? And
We
we all
did.
kind of agree that we want to address that when it comes, when we get some more information on, updates on that, isn't that correct, or?
We didn't
We're
take
gonna
any
get the
formal
road-
action. We
road-
did have discussion.
But I mean, the
and-
road commission, we're gonna invite them to come over and stuff?
Correct.
So that's all future, we don't have to, we're not gonna spend the money right now, we're just appropriating it still, right? No, we're doing, and then we can always change our mind later, once we get more information.
I would prefer to put it back in the budget once we understand it versus send the signal that we've already approved that without knowing what the project is and without having the road commission here. That's my personal preference.
We know what the project is. I mean, this project's been talked about for years. It's the ring road it's been talked about
With the
the
ring road,
last 20 years.
ring road's not gonna happen anymore.
Right.
That was 15
Can't
years
happen.
ago, and it's just not gonna
That
happen.
part is not gonna happen.
This was a deal where we talked about the north and south side of Lincoln Road on the bridge. I mean, the next one will be on the north side of the road, or the north side of the bridge. There's already been funds put away for that. I know that there's funds put away, or, what word am I thinking of? contingency funds, maybe, I can't remember. I know when McGurk's built their building there, they've got money set aside for on the north side where they'll have a right-hand turn lane into that complex. So that's, so we can't say that we don't know what these projects are about. I mean, Brian, you've been on this board before we were. You guys were the ones that approved it before the last board.
I think it was the previous board that put this in.
So
'Cause
2017,
it doesn't
I
quite
guess.
make sense to me, from what I see, living in that area, the traffic flow, and it's a lot of money for curb and gutter and a turn lane to.
So what are we saying? Just turn this down? Is that what you
This
want
is
us
my
to-
opinion. I'm gonna support the board in whatever we decide, obviously. This is the one concern I had with this, and we've had some discussion on it. So I didn't wanna go without bringing this back up.
Well, I think if, it's a project that's probably gonna happen, I mean, I would assume if we turn it down and if we don't support any of it, I'm sure it's a project that's still gonna happen. They'll find funding somewhere else. I'm not sure of that, but it's a project that I'm sure it's going to happen on both ends of the bridge.
And I have no doubts that we need to do stuff on Lincoln there. I'm just not sure we need that turn lane. There's nowhere to turn there. Residences and the canoe place, otherwise there's nothing to turn into. I just don't understand.
Well, in the last meeting, I made it very clear, I live on that corner, so I deal with it constantly, every day, all the time. And I'm with Brian on this one. I truly believe it's an overkill. I believe it's a lot of taxpayer money for this whole township that's going to something that is an overkill at this time. I prefer to pull the money out, and it's always, we can put it back in once we get the road commission over here. Let them answer all of our questions. We have no problem putting it right back in. I'm not against killing the whole project. That corner does need some attention, it does, because there's always puddles and water in there. I'm not saying that it does not need attention. I don't know as it needs as much as what is being asked for, and it may. And if they can come in here and answer some of the questions that we do have that we've all talked about, I think that's doing our due diligence. Put the money back in and get her done. That's just my opinion on it, so.
Well, I agreed with that too last time we talked about this. I thought we kind of all said, yeah, it's a little bit of overkill maybe, and we wanted more information. So if we want to pull it out, that's fine, we can do that. If we can amend this,
And put it back in?
amend this motion, and then say, except for this line item, we can do that. I think we have 3 votes here, I don't know, but I'm down with that, but I still think we invited them to come and talk to us
Oh,
about it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get our questions answered, do our due diligence, and put it back in.
Don't we have a letter of agreement or a letter of intent though, Mark? Did you say that?
We do have a participation agreement that was executed in 2017, I believe, between the road commission and the township, and between the east, or the west DDA and the road commission. Those documents exist. Something like this is always subject to annual appropriation. And just to kind of recap the last meeting, there was quite a bit of discussion about Lincoln Road and trying to get some additional information about the project. And I haven't yet, but I will be communicating with their director and posing those questions and ask that he come in and meet with the board. And at the last meeting, I also indicated that that would not happen before tonight.
Right.
And that the only thing I was aware of at the time related to the budget was this outstanding question, because it's been discussed in prior board meetings as to whether or not you approve the budget initially with this funding in it, or with it not in it. And so that is exactly the discussion that you're having tonight.
If we leave it in, get the information that we need, and collectively decide that we want out, we're allowed to make that change at that time, correct?
You can amend your budget anytime. So if you wanted to exit it completely without thinking it through all the way, there'd be two things you'd need to do, or would you at least want to do. You'd want to amend your budget and remove that appropriation, so it's available for other things. And then two, the board would communicate formally to the road commission that you were removing the funding from the project that had previously been represented as coming from Union Township. And the technical reason you'd be doing that is because you were not appropriating funds for that project.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just,
So you can go either
Yeah.
way. It's more about messaging and how you want to handle your messaging.
Exactly.
And that's the debate that the board is currently in.
I don't feel we have the information we need to pull the funding away. I guess I would like to hear what they have to say to see if the project's maybe changed a little bit. And then, after that, at that time, then we have a discussion based on, maybe the information that we're gonna be given is gonna be extremely vague. In which case, then I would say, yes, let's amend our budget and take that money out. Or maybe it's gonna be very detailed with whatever, and then we can have a more direct discussion. And I mean, we could send a message by taking the money out, but I guess if we take it out of this bucket and put it in this bucket to send a message, I think we're already sending a message by having the discussion we're having, so.
Yep.
I agree with that part.
I agree with Barry.
I would guess that the project hasn't really changed from its original inception 5 years ago. My question is, does it make sense today? It made sense to this board 5 years ago, but does it make sense with less census numbers, lower community numbers, the traffic flow? I'd like to see traffic studies done that indicate that we need a turn lane and a light signal. Because that's a lot of money in that corner.
And it could be amended in January and or February,
Correct.
when we have the opportunity to really get and ask those specific questions. And if they come before us and do not have any answers, I would absolutely support reappropriating those funds elsewhere, or putting them back in the general fund, or however we wish to do that.
Well, I personally think if it's sending a message, it's also sending a message to your constituents when you put something in a budget and you don't understand it. So I'm voting no, because if I don't understand exactly what's going down there, I don't need the money in the budget. If I'm gonna go out and buy something, if I'm gonna go out and buy a car or a refrigerator, I research it. I know what I'm spending my money on before I appropriate that money. So it only makes sense to me, sitting on this board for the people that I represent, I'm not gonna spend their money till I know exactly and understand exactly what's going on and what it's appropriated for. Thank you.
Trustee Houck, you got thoughts? I'm only reaching out to you because you hadn't said anything.
Whatever. Do what you
He,
want to
ma-
do.
he made the motion. I mean, I
know, we
agree
can turn
with
the motion
Theron. We
down.
can
I'm
take,
not changing my motion. If you
I-
don't like it, turn it down.
I agree with Theron. I think we should just leave it in because
The project isn't gonna start, we're gonna, hopefully, Mark, is this something that you feel that we could have the discussion January, February?
Yes.
So it's not, the project isn't gonna, no money should be spent prior to, think they're gonna start doing anything in those months,
Well,
so.
they're still working on easements, and they're purchasing easements, I mean, there is potential that they could expend some money. There is that potential. Am I incorrect, do you feel on?
Oh, they've already spent money. There's several funding sources.
But I guess the issue is if, let's say in March, we make a final decision and we decide not to do this, they could have spent more money between now and then. Is that an accurate statement? Because I think that's a good point that you made.
I don't think they'd be spending so much money that they wouldn't have sufficient cash flow for the project without this funding.
That helps.
I would, if I may,
Sure, please.
I think you need to have, we need to make a distinction, I think, between the funding that is in the recommended budget for this project that exists in two places. The general fund in the amount of $160,000. And then there's also funding in the West DDA budget in the amount of $330,000.
Which was already approved.
As it relates to the general fund, you have unilateral control, I will say. You need to keep in mind that in terms of how you want to make a possible motion moving forward, the funding that has been, that exists in the EDA budget, in the West DDA budget, the West DDA has approved their budget, and they've approved it with a recommendation to the Board of Trustees to approve their budget. So you have I'll call it an opportunity. You can remove it from the general fund budget, but I think it's a different, there's possibly different outcomes that might come from not approving the West DDA budget at this time, or approving their budget but not the $330,000 that exists. Because I don't think that this board has had any discussion in this area, I know the staff has not, with the West DDA in terms of are they on the same page with the Board of Trustees? So you can almost kind of have it both ways. You can leave the money in there for the West DDA for a variety of reasons, and also create some messaging that you may want to be delivering by removing it from the general fund piece.
And for the record, I wasn't suggesting any action regarding the West DDA. I do sit on that West DDA, but I wasn't suggesting that at this time. Just for clarity. So it would be nice to have unanimous on our budget. We have some different feelings on this. I can be flexible, but I also agree with Trustee Brown said it very well. He said, I'm going to paraphrase, we really don't quite understand if that's a good use of dollars today, as it was thought 5 years ago. Is it worth appropriating that ahead of time or funding it later? But I'm also inclined to want to support this board and our budget together. So if there is,
Yeah, and Trustee Thering made a good point. If we can, I can be flexible. I mean, absolutely. If we can pull this back out, we're all gonna be reasonable. If this isn't gonna come together, we're gonna take a serious look at this. And Trustee Thering made a good point that, and it was right in front of my eyes, and I appreciate you making that point. I just wasn't looking at that we can pull this out later. It's not gonna affect us at all
Later, like soon later.
Yeah,
Not
and-
like 6 months later.
Right.
Well, yeah,
Like
and-
it-
Or anytime
yeah,
we
Sixty
want.
days
You know,
later.
and I think that some of my frustration is because it's been dragging on so long, and
Sure.
it's there and there and there. And everybody knows my opinion about Lincoln Road, I've made that very clear, so. You.
Well, it could be
you-
a project.
Yeah, you have my vote. I'm
It could
fine.
be a project too that's scaled down if we talk.
And that's fine,
Well,
and it may
I-
not be scaled down at all, Bill, it's just that we just don't have any information on it, and
Right.
that's all it's about for me, is just information. It may have 3 lights and flashing yellow lights all the way down Lincoln, I don't really care, as long as it's appropriate,
sense,
correct?
right.
It makes sense.
That's
And
where I'm
it's
at.
for our tax, and it's for using the taxpayers' money properly.
Well, I think, Mark, if I remember right, just say on the north side of the intersection, I believe there's a right-hand turn lane, a straight lane, a left-hand turn lane, and then how did it go? You know,
Oh, you mean what's proposed?
Yeah.
I thought you were describing now.
no. So I think it's a right-hand turn lane, a straight lane, a left-hand turn lane, and then the lane that would be coming to the north. And then, just say on the east side of it, it went back, wasn't it 300 or 600 feet to the east? And then there would be a right-hand turn lane, a straight lane. And then that straight lane also will go left, because there was 3 lanes there, and then there's 3 lanes on the west side, and then the north, or the south side, I believe stayed 2 lanes, right? There wasn't anything on the south side, but then there was a traffic light put in there, and then curb and gutter. Is that, I can't remember.
That sounds generally correct, but it's been so long that I
Well, the
can't say for
easements have
certain.
taken so long, and there was all kinds of other stuff going on.
So hopefully we can get some questions answered in the next 30 to 60 days and have a better, the right information in front of us to say we're not interested in this project at this time, or, great, let's move forward, so.
So we're all in agreement, is that accurate regarding wanting to at least confirm that this is money well spent? Correct? And that we
I
can support this in the
would like to-
budget for now? Is that what I'm hearing from
I
this
think it
group?
needs to be changed, and I'll wait. I'll wait, but I still think it needs to be changed. There's no ring road, there's no 4 lanes on Lincoln. It doesn't work. So,
Okay,
that's all.
so I brought this issue up, I'm okay putting it to rest for now, unless there's others that want to speak to it.
Yeah, this was your fault.
I'll
Oh,
take
you,
the blame.
man.
It's the
So-
right conversation
Yeah.
at the right time, and I think we'll make the right
Yeah.
decision now, and we'll make the right decision a month or 2 from now.
I appreciate
I
your
know.
perspective.
Yep.
I know personally, I feel that we need to keep it as is, find out our information, and then move forward from there. Just because I would hate, yeah, it's just a matter of voting on it, but I would hate to go through the rigmarole of removing it from the budget only to put it right back in and everything else when we don't have all the information, but it was put in here for a reason.
Well, and I remember
So.
talking before, we all thought, maybe you guys remember this, that actually the north end part of the project is more, it's gonna affect people more than the south end.
I would agree.
There's more traffic on the north, there's more traffic
And that's
at
part of
the
our district there.
Lincoln 20
There.
intersection than there is at the Broomfield Lincoln intersection.
I would agree. So
Lincoln
do we have any
20
other
is
issues? We have a motion on the floor to approve the budget
Is there a second?
as presented. Yeah, we had a second. I just want to make sure there's not a need for discussion on any other items on this.
Nope.
Going once, going twice.
So roll call.
Any
Yes. Roll call.
any objections to calling the vote?
Calling the vote.
We have a motion, I'm going to summarize your motion, trustee Hauk, to adopt the fiscal 2022
To adopt
fiscal
everything
year.
with fiscal 2022 budget.
Yeah, that motion. If anybody's not clear, I'll stop. But we have the motion by Hauk, support was, forgive me, I forget. who
Cody.
supported that.
Me.
Cody. And I guess with that, would you be willing to do a roll call vote, please?
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Haupt,
Yes.
Trustee Thering.
Yes.
All yeses.
I just want to say thanks to the board for entertaining me, because I needed to work through this, because I
There's
prefer,
four people that don't even know the whole project.
Yeah, I need to work through it too, and still do. There's no doubt about that. But
And I was
yeah,
really
that was
hoping
good
we-
discussion. I appreciate it, and I want to thank Trustee Thering. Thank you.
right. And I think it sends an important message that it's a unanimous vote on our budget. That's important to me personally,
Yeah, me too.
and I needed to work through that to be there.
Thanks, James.
It's all good.
Good explanation.
All right, thank you all. Moving on, that takes us to item B, which is the schedule for fiscal year 2022 for the Board of Trustees. I'm looking for my schedule. I actually had two suggestions to this, if others might have some as well. I don't know. But if you're willing, I'd like to lift those up before you take a motion, and you can not like what I have to say, or you can listen. But I did notice the March 29th joint meeting. So that's a joint, for the new members that haven't been here, this is a joint meeting between all the boards. This is an opportunity for the Board of Trustees to hear from our boards and commissions, as well as them to hear from us. And it's a big round table, and it's not happened the last 2 years because of COVID. That's accurate, right? 2 years we've missed?
Yes.
And this is the one per Trustee Thering, which I appreciate. He suggested moving this up from late summer, end of summer essentially, into beginning the budget cycle, so we can use the information that we learn, and those boards can learn information from us regarding their budgets on what, building our goals for the next year, right? So with that, March 29th being a pretty important meeting from my perspective, is during spring break for our Mount Pleasant school system. And I was going to suggest that we take it away from that, because there are a lot of our members who have kids in school who tend to take vacation that week. And it'd be nice to have full attendance if at all possible.
Are
So I-
anybody going to be gone that week?
I will be.
Okay, just checking.
It's all about you, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
Supervisor.
But that's why I
You have
knew,
kids in school? High
knew-
school?
my wife works in the high school.
I just,
Yeah. But I know based on past experience that we've had lighter attendance of boards during that week when we
Sure.
have meetings. And so I checked with our manager on this issue to see if there was a good date around that time. I suggested April 5th, the following week. Mr. Stuhldreher came back, I think it was, it might have been this morning, and actually in talking with other staff that are needing to be there, that April 6th works. It does conflict with a ZBA meeting that evening, but I'm told from Mr. Nanny, who's staff attending the ZBA, that that's not a problem for that meeting. They'll adjust.
6th.
So April 6th is what I would suggest. Either way, what I was trying to point out is spring break. The other one, I just wanted to lift up, December 20th. I didn't know if this board would be, I'm sorry, December 21st. My apologies. Getting pretty close to the holidays, I didn't know if that would present any issues with this board. We could move it up to our regular scheduled date of December 14th.
It's fine with me.
I was going to recommend that too. I have it written down.
Okay.
He wants to move the 21st of December to the 14th.
14th, which is a regular meeting night, which I thought was good from a public perspective. It's a regular meeting night.
Public doesn't care. They don't care.
You never
They
know.
don't care. I do.
Yeah.
I think
On the
they do by
second
now.
Wednesday of the month instead of the 3rd
Right,
is what it would be.
now,
Fine with me. I don't have plans.
okay.
But I'll tell you what, after you're done, I have some, obviously, some comments too.
Okay, I'll finish up real quick and I'll give you the floor. The only issue I think we might run into in the 21st, and I did check with our manager on this as well, is we have to make sure as a board that we're taking care of our warrants at a minimum, right? There's work that needs to be done, but we do have policy in place to make sure bills get paid, and so, trustee bills.
Yeah, I move that we move the January and February meeting dates to Thursday. I'm busy.
January and February.
Yep.
I don't think we can.
Okay, I'm just telling you, I probably won't be here.
When is that? All of the January dates?
All of them?
That's 4.
I don't know if that conflicts with anything
I don't know.
else. I mean, I don't think there's any legal
I mean,
reason
you
we
guys
can't.
get along
We're just
without
required
me.
to hold at least, what, one meeting per month on average, yep, by law.
What's
We
that?
can, I believe by
They're working
statute,
through it.
we're required one meeting per month,
I'm required?
the board.
No, the board.
Oh,
I don't know if I can do Thursdays, though. I work around Wednesday on purpose.
then that's fine. Just count me out. I'll probably be here because I love this place. But I do have an alternate engagement, which may be more interesting. I'm sorry. It's conference.
I'm not opposed to the idea. I'm not saying I'm for it either, but I'm not opposed to it. My only concern is, public may not be here tonight, but there are times when we have meetings that there is attendance. And it's been a little weird the last couple of years, I'll admit, but COVID has certainly changed that.
Yeah.
All right above it.
We used to
I
have
just
people
wanted to
come.
mention
Yeah.
it, but I'm obviously Kurt Cody doesn't need to change her plans because I'm changing my plans. You know?
Wednesday, I'm pretty sunk into the Wednesdays as well. It's just
Yeah.
kind of, the flow works very well with my week as well, so.
Well, in our websites and everything, it says our meetings are the second, fourth Wednesday of
Yep.
each month,
That's right.
so.
I didn't think you'd go along with it. I just said that's what I'm doing.
I like the
It's
attempt.
worth bringing it up.
I like the attempt.
wanted to let you know. It's like going through a motion here, just saying, there may be.
Nobody's supporting it, it's okay.
Yeah, we did have a motion in case there was someone that wanted out to support that.
Good call.
But
I wish.
hearing none, I appreciate your input on that, though.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
I don't know if,
I would
did
love
others
to
have
work
some
Thursdays.
comments they'd like to bring
I'd
up before motions are
Mine was-
made regarding the,
Mine was the same day as yours.
I'd be happy to entertain, sorry, trustee Therian?
Yeah, I was just gonna make a motion.
Sure, great.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposed Board of Trustee meeting schedule for 2022 calendar year in accordance with the Open Meetings Act with 2 corrections.
Oops.
One, March 29th being stricken and April 6th in its place. And December 21st being removed and replaced with December 14th.
Support.
Motion by Therian, I
I
heard
heard
trustee Hauk
Bill's
first.
first.
Well,
but-
over there, take one of those.
Support by trustee Bills. Further discussion? Really? No more?
Roll call.
You want roll call on this?
Yeah.
Okay. So the motion is to approve the presented schedule with the 2 modifications. Is everybody clear on the motion? Clerk Cody?
Supervisor Milky.
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Treasurer Rice.
Yes.
Trustee Bills.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Hope.
Yes.
Trustee Therian.
Yes.
All yes.
Thank you. That brings us to item
I'm gonna get
11.
that emailed out and printed out at home, so. Well, I mean,
You want
It'll be on the
calendar?
web page too.
I already got it in my phone, man.
We will update this master schedule and then distribute it and post it all the places that it gets posted.
And then share it, I'm assuming, with all the appropriate boards. They, at the very
Right.
least, are aware of the joint
That'd be
meeting
cool.
potential change.
Yes, and I've had discussion with the staff folks that support the various boards, so they'll take action to amend their previously approved meeting calendars, which reflect the joint meeting on the 29th of April 6th.
Thank you.
have a potluck
Sign it,
that
just
night.
tell them what you're gonna change.
You do? I'm sorry.
When you
Something, you know?
There we go.
The joint meeting?
We can get Jose,
when you said the 5th, I'm like, yeah, my
the
birthday's
whole
the
board,
4th.
all the.
Oh. All right.
Cool,
let's-
when everybody's here, it's pretty cool. Everybody-
Yeah, it is nice.
Yeah.
All right, that moves us to item 11C.
Chip
Our
in.
our clerk asked us to move this meeting along tonight.
Jose does.
Yeah.
Pretty
11C, Policy Governance 2.4, Financial Planning, Budgeting. This is really more on our manager's side and presentation to the Board of Trustees. So, Manager Stuhldreher, I'm happy to give you the floor if you have anything you'd like to say on this.
I do not. Unless anybody has any questions.
Looks pretty
No.
self-explanatory.
Good to me.
I'm good.
I felt we were in
We're
compliance.
Yep.
Great job.
All right, well, let's, I'm going to ask some of these questions anyways, because I want to lift up one question. I'm being
lift up
selfish
the one.
again.
Uh-oh.
Just do the one question, it's fine.
Get to the one question? All right, any issues with,
Nope.
for anybody else?
We're all good.
Okay, I've got one issue, and it's regarding question number 4. Was I convinced that the interpretation is justified and reasonable? Yes, but I want to comment on it. And as I read through the manager's interpretation, let me back up. It's important that we look at that interpretation because that's our manager's view of our policy, right? And if that view is incorrect, this is the opportunity for us to correct that view. Make sense? So that's why this is important. The only thing I would comment on is as you read through the interpretation, the last couple sentences is a regurgitation of some of the verbiage that's in the policy. And sorry to bring this up when I met with you, but it didn't come to me till the second review of the packet. It says, I guess it begins in the third to last line on page 79, or provide less for board prerogatives than is set forth in the cost of governance policy. That is kind of a regurgitation of the policy. I'd like our manager in the next review, next year, to maybe describe what that means to him. In other words, what does that mean operationally? Does that make sense? And how you might effectuate that?
Yes, it does, and I can probably provide some clarification on
Sure,
that right
great.
now. And that has to do with sub-policy 2.4.4, and it references the cost of governance policy, which I can tell you what that number is real quick, but it centers around making sure there's sufficient funding for the board to receive training.
Oh, okay.
And I could state that in here better. And then the data that would support that is, for instance, the budget you just approved, and I don't have the summation, but there's a fair amount of money within the treasurer's, clerk, supervisor, and then trustee departments' budgets for training. And if I would have presented a recommended budget with $0 in training or $100, then that would not be
In compliance.
in compliance with the policy.
Yeah, so you just articulated kind of what I was asking for, just because it clarifies it rather than restating.
Right. And I'll
policy.
make a note of that.
So it wasn't a big deal where I felt your interpretation was wrong. I felt that would be helpful. So unless there's anything else, I'll move us on.
Moving on.
All right, that brings us to item 11D, Policy Governance 3.0 Global Governance Commitment. And this one, things jumbled over here. There we go. This is a pretty high-level part of our policy. I mean, it is about as high as you can get in our policy. So as I went through this personally, I still don't have the right page in front of me.
Page 82.
Yep, thank you. I personally didn't find it hard to judge because it is a very high-level look at everything. So I will ask the questions anyways. Bear with me.
$82.
Page 84.
questions are on 84.
Yeah.
Very end of the
Thank you.
page.
I'm there now.
Okay.
Last page.
I print double-sided, which gets things confused sometimes, because anyways. So is there any item in this policy, it's really a simple policy, a single sentence, I
It's
believe,
right
even,
there.
that we are either not that we're not in compliance with?
I don't see it.
No objections?
No,
Nope.
I felt we were in compliance.
All right, so we'll skip number 2. How do you feel we could improve the process to be in full compliance?
I wrote on it.
I mean, I think everything we do is geared towards this, almost a mission statement of sorts, or,
Yeah,
Yep.
we have very vigorous discussions about it, and, I mean,
Yes.
we're pretty on top of it, I believe. Yeah, I would have to say.
all right, any other comments in general on this? I could ask the specific questions, but this is one of our easier look at ourselves, and with the idea that we're basically looking out for the townships, that we're providing at appropriate costs, certain services and support, et cetera, right?
Doing what's right.
Yeah, well said. That's the mission statement.
Yes, sir.
With that, if there's no objections, we'll move on.
No objection?
Nope. Boy.
And that takes us to extended public comment, item 12 on our agenda. Extended public comment is restricted to 5 minutes regarding any issue. Talk about whatever you would like. If you do speak to the public and/or board, please state your name and address for the record. Extended public comment will be opened at 8:16 PM. Seeing no one coming forward, maybe in January we'll have some people show up.
Probably
Uh-uh.
not.
I can hope. We'll close extended public comment at 8:17 PM. That brings us to item 13 on our agenda, the manager's comments. Mr. Stuhldreher, you have the floor.
Thank you. Just briefly, wanted to let the board know that I personally, as the township manager, hosted an employee-only Christmas party this past Friday. It was a great time. I did not invite the Board of Trustees. I thought about it, but then I decided that I just wanted to make it about the employees, so I hope you don't feel
No.
slighted or offended
Thank you
by
for
that.
doing that.
Yeah.
I think
I'll cry
everybody
later.
had
It's
a
okay.
really good time. We have 25 employees. There were probably 13 or 14 employees, and then there are significant others or plus one. So we had the low 30s, and it was hosted. It was dinner, cash bar. It was held at the Holiday Inn on Pickard Road, and there was no public funds spent on that, in case anybody would be curious. So I was really glad to do it. Had a lot of the work done to pull it off, and it was a beautiful setting in the room with Amy Peak, Tara Green, Hannah Fitzpatrick, and Jennifer Loveberry were the planning committee, and I just let them do their thing.
That was really nice.
So it was a good time. And then also a note went out today, also related to the holidays. We're going to have some chili, and the theme at the party the other night was ugly sweaters. About half of us had ugly Christmas sweaters on. It was fun.
Awesome.
So you saw a note go out today to the board. Please stop by next Thursday. It's Thursday, right? There'll be some chili and other treats in the back, so you're more than welcome to come to that.
Do we have to
Thank
wear an ugly sweater?
You do not.
Okay.
It's recommended.
And then finally, Merry Christmas to everybody next week. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for the manager?
Thank you for doing that,
Yeah.
Mark. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's awesome.
I agree.
Thank you, Mark. Good deal.
You're welcome. I'm happy to do it.
You did share a comment with me in a prior conversation. I believe I can share this, but I believe one of the employees, and correct me if I'm wrong, stated that it had been like 20 years since that had been done at this township.
That's what was stated.
And it's too long.
Yeah.
Why
And-
can't
and-
we appropriate funds for some kind of
We
party?
we can't take tax dollars for that
Tax
kind of
dollars can't.
activity.
To have a party.
It's not an allowed use of public funds.
Yeah, but
Misappropriation of
trustees can help pay for it, can't they?
Yeah,
Yep.
If we
And it's-
would like to?
yeah.
You just wanna get invited.
No.
We
No,
help
he
them
wants
out.
No.
to give your money
And-
away.
And, and I
Bill's
know.
got all kinds of money.
And
No,
I
but
know
mean,
it's something
Hey!
that's been brought up before, not in a meeting, but along the sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I am just really glad that Mark
I am too.
took the initiative and actually,
That's
you
a
know,
great thing.
did it for them. That's awesome.
Did you have something else?
Thanks again, Mark.
Oh,
So.
it looked like you were gonna say something.
I won't.
With that, that brings us to item 14 on our agenda, final board member comment. Again, I'm gonna mix it up here. Trustee Bills, I'm gonna put you on the spot first.
Yes, sir. During this holiday time, I hope that everybody has the best time they can have with whatever deity they like to worship and with their family. And I'll see you all in the new year.
Thank you. Treasurer Rice.
I'm good. Thank you guys again for your continued support, and I hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas or whatever they celebrate, as Bill said. So, you know, everybody stay safe and see you in the new year, if not before. So,
Trustee Hauk.
I just wanted to let everybody know that Tim Lannon, he was a former trustee that was on the board for 12 years. His mother passed away Monday, and her funeral is tomorrow. And it is nice to go out in the community and hear the words "Merry Christmas."
yeah.
So Merry Christmas to everyone, and public, please join us. Thank you.
Clerk Cody.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Trustee Brown.
Yes, same thing. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Let's concentrate on vaccination. Let's everybody get vaccinated so we can keep these Christmases going. And Mark, just once again, I'd like to reach out and say thank you for the Christmas party to the employees. I think that was pretty special for all of them. That was awesome. Thank you again.
Trustee Therian.
I'm good. I think everything's been well said, so.
And with that, I would agree as well. I'll just add that I hope everyone here gets to spend time with those that they love over the holidays. Merry Christmas. I do have some Jewish friends. Happy Hanukkah. And I probably have friends with other faiths too, but
Don't talk to them very much.
wow. With that, I'm happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion by Rice, support by Brown to adjourn. Discussion, seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.